Hey, how you doing? So we're gonna go ahead and discuss a few things real quick. So first off, I'm gonna be just blunt, very honest with you about something. I absolutely hate the idea that certain people aren't meant to train, to strength train, to power lift, to do things of that nature. I absolutely hate that idea because it's an idea that's very prevalent. It's very, very prevalent, and I want to share with you a few stories of the people that we have training literally right now in the gym. So right now in the gym, one of the people that we have training, his name's Phil. Phil is Rudy's training partner. Rudy Cadlup is one of the owners here at Kabuki Strength. Now, Rudy Cadlup has a pretty amazing story. He got into powerlifting at 60, 65 years, no, maybe 55, 6 years old, somewhere around there. 6 years old is when he got into it. He had never powerlifted before. He'd never really lifted heavy before since high school. Um, he started lifting heavy, but even prior to him starting, he had unbelievable shoulder issues. There's unbelievable shoulder issues from him playing football. Uh, he started training, started getting better and better, started putting up some pretty good numbers, doing very well for his age. But then, due to prior issues, he ended up having to have a shoulder replacement surgery back overdue from football. In the left one was needed a surgery, the right one was close. He got a surgery, the left one, had to come back to training, took some months, years to come back to where he was, and they slowly progressed from there. Well, he had one fake shoulder, it's like an experimental surgery where they put like a metal socket in your shoulder, something crazy like that. Well, he had one fake shoulder. He still was setting world records for his age, still doing incredibly well, still doing very, very well. But his right shoulder was overdue as well since prior to him even starting. Both his shoulders need replacements. Football tore him apart. And he ended up getting that shoulder replaced. Took him months and months, years and years to get back to where he was. And now he's, close to 7 years old, and you could not tell by looking at him. The guy's jacked. The guy's absolutely jacked. He is the most functional fucking mid-70s man I've ever met in my entire life. And he benches 300 pounds. He squats close to 5. He deadlifts 5. He's ridiculously strong for his age. Ridiculously strong overall. And his doctor told him that after each surgery, like, you're not going to be able to bench press anymore. You're not going to be able to lift anymore. You're not even going to be able to get into barbell back squat position anymore. And he proved all of them wrong. And he's been doing incredibly well. His health is incredible. You will not meet somebody that's healthier for his age. And everyone was telling him he should stop. Now, I got an even better story. His training partner is named Phil. And Phil, he was a paratrooper in the Army. And he jumped out of an airplane. Parachute didn't go off. Classic terrible story. He landed on his legs, broke every fucking bone in his body, broke his back, broke everything. Doctor said he would never be able to walk again, let alone lift. And years later, he's lifting now. He's setting national records for his age. He's in his like mid 50s, I want to say. Unbelievably strong. Utmost respect for him. There's a reason that I hate the phrase or the idea that certain people aren't cut out for strength training. That's because it couldn't be further from the truth. And unfortunately, that's a prevalent idea in our society. You're always going to go through setbacks. You're always going to have irritating times. And when outside life stress gets out of control or gets just higher in general, your lifting will be sacrificed. It sucks. It really sucks. But the second, I personally go through some family hardships or some family stress, I immediately have to adjust my training to it. I have to, because I know it's going to be affected. And if I don't take account for it, accumulative fatigue is going to go through the roof. I'm going to get little injuries, little pains, and likely end up with something legitimate in terms of an injury. So what I want to get across here today, the idea that you're not cut out for this, no offense, is batshit. You are cut out for this. You absolutely are cut out for this. We sometimes we got to take a more careful look at your volume, at the kind of exercises that you're doing. And the idea that you're stagnant with your form is just not true either, because I look at it on a week-to-week basis, and it's definitely not true. Like, if we look at each one of your lifts here, I mean, your squat, 100 times better than when we started off. When we started off, you didn't know how to hinge. You did not, to put it bluntly, you didn't really know how to squat. Now you're hinging nicely, you're keeping a neutral spine, you're ending up in a good position. Things are looking good for you with your squat. It's not unsafe in any way, shape, or form. With your deadlift, even, your deadlift's gorgeous. Your deadlift looks good. There's no issues that I'm really seeing. The only issue you have, if we look at this video, for example, the only issue you may have is a little bit of forward motion coming off the floor. So watch this. A little bit of forward motion coming off the floor, and you get it up. But guess what? I have that issue too. If you see my deadlifts, I have that exact same issue every single time I pull conventional. I've been doing this my entire life, the idea that your movement quality is going to get perfect within a few months, few years, or even a lifetime of doing this is just a ridiculous expectation, because it will never be. You always need stuff that you need to work on. You'll always have little pains and nicks here that happen from time to time, no matter how smart you train. And you're going to have some weeks that turn into months that you feel like your movement patterns just aren't there. And that's kind of the beauty of the sport, though, is every lifter has to fight through those hardships, and every lifter knows what you mean when you say, my lift's stagnant right now. I have this random back pain. I'm having all these little nicks and issues right now. Every lifter knows what you mean when you say that, because every lifter's gone through it. It's kind of one of the things about powerlifting that really builds character and builds a culture around it. And if you were to lift here, you can talk to every lifter who lifts at Kabuki strength, and they all could relate to the issues you're experiencing. Now, one last thing I'll say is I have yet to meet somebody, a powerlifter, even elite level powerlifters, like people that are putting up ridiculous numbers, the nation's best, the world's best. I have yet to meet one that has a kid and their lifting is not significantly jeopardized. The reason why is because we have to understand that when it comes to central nervous system adaptations, are very different from muscular adaptations. If you were a bodybuilder right now, if we were doing a bodybuilding like program and you were having a kid, cool. It doesn't really matter. We might have to adjust frequency a little bit, maybe the time of workouts, but we can use the same intensity and you can still kill it. But unfortunately, strength training, when we rely on central nervous system adaptations that come with strength training to get better, it's different. It's a lot different. You get one bad night of sleep, it fucks up your ability to lift the next day, even days after. You get a bad night of sleep, you have a kid and external stress goes through the roof, or you even just up a little bit, and it's something that we have to consider when we go to train. And these are considerations and things that you learn throughout time. You get better and better at the longer you do this. But one thing I just want to get across here is you're meant for this. There's no one that's not meant for a training like this. There's no one that's not. We just may have to take a more careful look at your current intensity, at your current exercise variations, and maybe adjust some things to handle or to adapt to the fact that your life has a little bit more extra stress right now. You're probably not getting the best sleep right now. And these are things that jeopardize like crazy your ability to recover from training. Now, it doesn't mean you can't train. In fact, not training would be worse than uh, training with a lower intensity. Not training would be even worse on your health. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we just have to take a careful look at adjusting things to adapt to where you're at right now and what kind of things you're experiencing in your life in terms of stress, in terms of any aspect of everyday life that's going to affect central nervous system adaptations and your ability to recover from training. What I assume is that you're likely having not the best sleep right now. You're likely having a lot more stress right now. You likely have a lot more responsibilities right now in terms of things that you're, having a kid, obviously not something that is an easy thing to do. So we just have to adjust training to that. We have to keep that in mind, and we just got to keep on working on things that we can work on. But I don't want you to ever have the idea that you can't do this or you're not meant to do this, because that's what our entire company phrase is about. We don't have it up here, but anti-fragile. You'll see it on all our stuff. That's what being anti-fragile is about. Going through all these life hardships, all these life stuff that everybody goes through, maybe to differing degrees, but at the same time, everybody goes through it, and we're anti-fragile. We keep pushing through it. We find a way to push through it. We find a way to get better through it. We find a way to build our character through it. That's kind of what anti-fragile is all about. And we believe that everybody's anti-fragile. It's just the idea of being fragile is something that's prevalent in our society. And, that's why you have somebody that gets a hernia at age 30, has to have a surgery to get it fixed, and then their doctor says you should never lift again over 80 pounds in your entire life. We have several clients that have been told that by their doctors that are now deadlifting 700 pounds, best physical shape of their life, feel great, look great, and are putting up things that they never thought they could against their doctor's recommendation. Because again, there's a very prevalent idea of us being fragile in our society. But anyways, not to beat that to death in terms of topic. I'm not even sure if I'm making sense to you right now, but at the same time, that's just kind of what I wanted to get across real quick in terms of looking at your movement patterns alone. I like what I see. The only thing we're struggling a little bit with the deadlift is, like I mentioned, a little bit of forward motion, but it's not to a degree that worries me by any means. For some reason, one of your videos was private. I don't know why. I think you just forgot to adjust the settings there, which isn't a big deal. Looking at this deadlift video, kind of had the same thoughts here. It looked good. I'm really not seeing any issues. For some reason, it's not loading, so there's an issue. But I was really happy with your push press. Your push press looks very good as well. Push press looking gorgeous. Really no even remote issues here. I like your bottom position. I like the fact that we're actually starting on our chest. And one thing that's nice about you from a mobility component is that you do have the ability that's very rare, to not go into wrist extension and still have the barbell on your upper body. So what I mean by that is most people, including myself, have to go through wrist extension, like really heavy wrist extension, to get low enough to where that barbell's resting on their chest. It's a very unique trait to be able to go here with the barbell without extending your back, go all the way down like that, start on your chest, and have a perfectly neutral wrist position. So that's actually a really cool ability there that very few people have. That's really neat, because that's going to help you a lot with not only transferring force to your lower body, but also just being in a better position at the start of your press. So that's good. But yeah, push press looks great. Really no issues here. We're using a good amount of lower body. I like the fact the barbell starting on the chest, that there was no bar drop, no heavy extension, nothing of that nature, like what I see. In terms of the squat also really had no issues. I can see we do seem to be hinging just a little bit more than I would probably like you to. I would like you to hinge just a little bit less. Hinging isn't inherently